Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to another episode of our podcast, A New Direction. And as usual, on this podcast, we always talk about certain issues that warrant a level of clarity from the source of creation, from the source in which we have proclaimed to be reaching you from. So today is no different. We'll be talking about two similar words in the understanding of men, but those words have their own distinct descriptions in action and in operation, and as well in the foundation of who those words operate under. And those words are liberty and freedom. In our world, we understand liberty and freedom to seemingly mean the same thing. But just as we always say on this forum, as it relates to the Spirit who introduced all words, irrespective of how men think that we have evolved to the extent that we believe that we introduce certain words by ourselves. But the Spirit introduced those words, and as He introduced them, we always say He has His own definition or interpretation of those words. And we have also said that words can be defined by words also. We have said that it's actions that describe the function of a word. So, discussing this little issue on this episode with me today, I have Sister Udwak.
Good morning, everyone.
We have Brother Kufre.
Good morning, everyone.
We have Sister Adugo.
Good morning to you all.
And we have Brother Chigozie.
Good morning to you.
I myself am Brother David. So, we'll get into what we have. Liberty and freedom. There's a reason why it's liberty first, then freedom. Liberty goes first because we as men are operating under the foundation of liberty. And just as we have come to know that the foundation that we as men are operating under isn't the foundation of God. So definitely, when God comes in with His own foundation, we won't be operating under the foundation of liberty, but under the foundation of freedom. Which is why it's liberty first, then freedom. It's been described that liberty is the state in which man was brought in, and the nature of man, the independent nature of man. That's what fuels that his liberty. Because the Spirit of the Lord who brought man brought him in a state of independence. Yes. And if you remember in our episode that we talked about man and woman, we tried to distinctively describe what those two states are and how their functions differ. In simple terms, we tagged man to be that state of sin. And what keeps him or what fuels that his state of sin is his nature of independence. That's his character of independence. The feeling that he always has that he can do things and figure things out for himself. Then in simple terms as well, we describe the human to be the state of submission, which is why we are always trying to force it on the females to be the ones who are submissive, because we have now taken the male to be that man who is meant to be that figurehead and the person whom the females are meant to submit to. But we try to clarify that misconception by saying that man is male and female, and woman as well is male and female. After the person of God has been introduced to the man as his help, to work on him and transform him from that state of man to the state of the human, making him a submissive person unto God.
Yes.
So in the state of woman, there is a male and there is a female.
Yes.
And in the state of man, there is a male and there is a female.
Yes.
So in that state of man, without that person of God in their midst, their operations are in liberty. Which is why, as we have described, man feels he can do things for himself, figure out things for himself. And we know we keep on saying that how can we as men who didn't bring ourselves into the world now all of a sudden live what we are now describing as our lives?
Yes.
We tag it to be our lives. That's because of that nature of liberty and independence. We feel like we are the ones in charge.
Yes.
But unfortunately, what we don't know is that the Spirit of the Lord who brought man has designed already in his program that he's going to bring God
Yes.
to be the help to man, because he brought man in a state that he himself knows requires help, and instinctively put it in the man's subconsciousness, which is each and every one of us, that the help that we need can only come from God.
Yes.
Which is why we all call for God.
Yes.
But at the same time, he didn't let us know that it wasn't God that brought us into the world.
Yes.
He brought us into the world and let us have
An instinct
an
about God.
instinct about God, but now gave us an understanding which we as men have tagged to be our own understanding. The feeling we felt like we derived it by ourselves, as we originated it by ourselves.
Yes.
But he was that Spirit of the Lord who brought us, that let us have that same knowledge,
Yes.
that we have claimed to be ours.
Yes.
And he knows that, but the man wasn't privy to that information. So he goes around doing his things, what he calls his things, but he's still under the supervision of the same Lord who brought him. So even in liberty, it's under the Lord.
Yes.
That's why it was described in I think it's in 2 Corinthians 3 verse 17.
Yes.
That the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty.
Yes. Because if you look at the function of men as it relates to the spirit of the spirit that created us.
Yeah.
Just like you said, we are under the supervision of that spirit.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to what we have tagged as our understanding, it is coming from a brain that we did not create.
Exactly.
It was a brain that was created and given to us. So there is no how that whatever comes out from that brain is by our own doing.
Yeah.
Same thing as every other thing that happens with us.
Yes.
We keep on emphasizing in this our forum that, one, we didn't bring ourselves into this world. That is paramount. Everybody knows that. Two, we were not asked, or there was no permission
There was no
needed
discussion.
from us in order for us to be brought into this world. We just saw ourselves in this world. The purpose for why we are in this world is not given to us. So there is no how, even though we are under that illusion, there is no how that anything we do in this world is by our choice.
Yes.
You see, that is why even right now in the world, you will see people are coming up with that understanding, or the Spirit has released that understanding, because it's not the people that are coming up with it.
Yeah.
The Spirit has released that understanding that there's nothing like free will in this world, because nothing you do is outside the control of that Spirit. Yes. That is why you made mention of the fact that even as liberty is do as you like, what you do is still subject to what that Spirit lets
Allows
you do.
It's
You
engineered by
understand?
him. Yeah.
Everything is engineered by him. And as it relates to liberty, liberty is under the terms of do as you like. That is liberty. But if you look at how, like you said at the beginning, that both liberty and freedom, by our own understanding as men, are similar.
Yes.
Because when we act under liberty. But when we want to talk about it, we call it freedom.
Yeah.
You say, hey, I have the freedom to do as I like. It doesn't work that way, because freedom is not do as you like. That is liberty.
Yeah.
That is why you made mention of the fact that words cannot be defined by words. It's your actions that define what you are, what you say.
Yes.
You understand? So, but the bad, or let me not use the word bad, because to the spirit everything works together for good.
Yeah.
Both what we think
Is
or
bad, yes.
what we think is bad or what we think is good is for a reason.
Yeah.
Because even the sin that we see as bad and sorrowful to us that are living under it, he is the one that introduced it for his purpose. So to him it is good like that, because there is what he wants to achieve.
Yeah, because that sin has kept man in the state we find ourselves in. So no one can claim the position that has been reserved for God by that same spirit who brought man as sinful.
So let me still just use the word bad. The bad side about liberty, or the bad side about the understanding that we don't have about liberty, is that even as we are left under liberty to do as we like, that automatically translates to every other thing. Because when it comes to do as you like, it's not just about what you are doing. Because when like we made mention of the fact that man is under the spirit of independence, and the spirit of independence is I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
I know. That is what liberty translates to. I can do it on my own. And you know that when it comes to I can do it on my own, it's not just about what you are doing. Because I can say I can do it on my own, I can do it on my own, but when I do what I think I know and it backfires on me, then just know that the consequences of that thing, you will bear it on your own. Because that's what it is. You see, because if you look at the activities and the repercussions of liberty, it shows where the spirit stands with man when it concerns liberty. He says, since I have left you to do as you like, both the solution in terms of what we look for, the solution to problems that we think we create, he has left it to us, which never brings any solution, which keeps us running up and down in the problem that we create from our liberty. Because if it's that liberty to do as we like was under his approval, then whatever we do, if it has any problem, he should be the one to step in to correct that problem, seeing that he's the one that left us in that thing. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, go on.
But since we are under that influence of liberty that is under an independent source, there is no way that he can come in to help us out of anything we create.
Yes.
Because there's a plan he works by. Just like you said, his plan of help for man is by God. And when it comes to God, he works under freedom, not liberty.
Okay, so let's look at, you wanted to say something?
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
I wanted to say that the liberty state that we are made in is a state that needs help. That's why everything we do, we still cry for that spirit to come and help us. Because we made mention of we didn't bring ourselves, so we are not in position to do things as we like. It's only the one that brought us that should have that liberty, because he has a purpose why he brought us, and he should be the one to operate in us as he likes. So that's what I just wanted to add.
I just want to add something to this, because it just brought a kind of picture as it relates to how we relate to the things we create.
Yes.
Because right now, the world has, well, let me use the word grown, even though it's not a growth. You understand? The world has grown to a point where they are developing AIs, they are developing technologies that can, under our understanding, help man, even though it never helps man, it rather creates problems.
Yes.
If you see the way they associate associate with AIs, you see that whenever they are creating an AI, they are creating an AI in order to help man, but under the supervision of man. That is always the backbone
precept.
of
Yes.
the precept of their invention.
Yes.
But when it now comes to when the AI comes to be under use, you see, it's once the AI starts to want to act on its own, You see, they call it an anomaly.
And shut it down.
And they shut it down because they know that as that thing, the way they have created that thing, the way they have seen what they want to, that thing that they have created can do, they know if that thing thinks on its own, it will backfire on them.
Yeah.
You see, that is why they are quick to shut it down. If men can do that with what they create,
Is it the
how hard is it, or is it now impossible for the spirit that created man to keep man under check from moving into places he doesn't understand?
Yes.
You understand? Because when it comes to our relationship with the spirit that created us, to us we think like, hey, you have brought us to the world, thank you, I can take it from here.
That's why
This is something, this is some a spirit that created you without your permission. When he has brought you into a world for a purpose.
come up to the mic a little bit more.
When he has brought you into the world for a purpose, you are not the one that will want to decide for him how you will live in the world that he created and put you in. See, that's the craziness.
That's why if you remember I mentioned earlier from the onset that we as men, as humans,
Yes.
we do our things thinking we are the ones in charge.
Yeah.
That's where the difference is when it comes to the AI and the man. The analogy is spot on. But where the difference is with man and the spirit of the Lord who brought him is that the man, which is us, we think we are in charge, and whatever we find ourselves able to do, it came up by our ability to think about it.
Because we can't see the creator.
It comes from our ability to analyze and figure out things, investigate things, and know how they work. That's the deceit of the spirit. Because just as we said earlier, it's that spirit of the Lord who brought man that allowed the man to do as he's doing.
Yes.
And what the man is doing, that the spirit is describing as he likes,
Yes.
that is, he's doing as he likes, was what the same spirit
The program to
programmed and permitted
it.
for the man to do.
Yes.
Like for instance, now let's look at how men have gone on with our liberty. Is the foundation of liberty that we are operating under that makes us feel that everyone is entitled to his own opinion.
Yes.
That's a recipe for disaster. And everyone is entitled to his own opinion. And we can see how crazy it is. It's not practical.
It can't be.
It's not. Like for instance, now we are 5 on this. We are 5 on this forum.
Yes.
And what it means for everyone to be entitled to his own opinion on a practical basis is that you are free to do as you like, say as you like, and behave as you like. Same for Borakufre, same for myself, and same for Ada and Chigoze. It's the same thing. You are free to do as you like. Whatever you can come up with in your mind, you are free. There's no restraint. You
Even
can,
if it's to the detriment of others.
to another place, you can just do as you like. But because it's not practical, that's why, just as we are still 5 on this forum,
Yeah.
that's how we can sit 5 on this forum, the 5 of us, make up laws for 1 billion people to follow.
Yeah.
Because everyone can be entitled to their own opinion.
Yes.
Because if everybody is entitled to their opinion, there is no need for laws.
It's chaos.
It might not
There's
be
not-
chaos.
yes,
There will not
no
be
need
need for
for
laws
laws.
because what the laws, you are telling me what not to do. You understand? Because me, if I say I want to be an armed robber, nothing should stop me. That is my opinion on how I want to live my life. But as long as there are laws, it means that it has restricted me from doing as I like.
Yeah.
That's where freedom comes in.
Yes.
Because the introduction of laws is to contain man.
Yes.
Because if you remember, we described man to be out of control.
Yes.
But the man feels, men, we feel like we are in control.
Yes.
Even when things are going out of what we feel like, out of plan, we still say, relax, everything is under control. It's in our nature. So we think that we can control things Not knowing that the spirit that we are operating with is that spirit that doesn't have control.
Yes.
So the outcome of that spirit who doesn't have control is what we see, our struggle to contain and control things.
Yes.
So it's the nature of liberty that man was introduced in that
Lacks the control.
that lacks control.
Yes.
Which is why it's talked about law. That's what introduced law, because freedom is what we as men are meant to
live
function
with.
by.
Yes.
Because everyone can't have the ability to do as he likes.
Yes.
That's why laws were introduced.
Yes.
So laws were meant to act like a form of restraint
Yes.
to man. You can perform certain activities within a certain confine.
Yes.
That's what laws are supposed to do.
Yes.
And that's what freedom actually does when it's introduced.
Yes.
From that very scripture that we read, the 2 Corinthians 3,
Verse
17.
17. Yeah.
You from what he just mentioned, he said, now the Lord is that spirit.
Yes.
You know, I would like to put this out to whosoever that is listening to us, because we keep using that word in this our forum, that there is what is called the Lord,
Yes.
and there is who that is called God. But in our world today, we have mixed them up, just as we mix everything up.
It's crazy.
Everybody believes that, you know, there is God.
Yeah.
And there is a kind of assumption we have towards the God. And the assumption we have towards God is that you can just kneel down, close your eye, and just talk to an open sky. And that is God you are talking to.
Yes.
In the other way around, we also assume that the God is in some person. Because it's not everybody that just talk to air and believe that God is in the air.
Yeah.
There are some people that believe that God is in
A person.
in a person. Somebody will even tell you, I am God. That is to say, if God is a spirit, he's inside of me.
Yes.
You see, but he said something. He said, now the Lord is that spirit. And we said that anywhere we see that word, the Lord, which is what you see from the beginning of Genesis to Revelation, you keep seeing here, the Lord thy God, the Lord or God. So we have said here that based on what we have been shown, because it's not our knowledge, that is why as we keep sitting down here trying to pass it out to our people, we are not trying to pass a knowledge to our people. We try to give them a good news. Good news in the sense that where the knowledge that you think we are passing to you is coming from the source of that help.
Yes.
Because the Spirit has now choosing a first where he's going to bet from and now guide and control humanity.
Yes.
That is where we are speaking from. So,
Exactly.
and having heard from that source and see that every of the thing we are talking about today is the same thing that we dwell in. It's just a privilege that we had and hearing from that source, and we are now trying to correct our ways, because that is why this moment is to point to anybody out there that it is time for us to correct our ways.
Yes.
And we cannot correct our ways by sitting wherever we are and doing what we do and think that we are doing it for God, or we are doing anything in the name of God, and that is how it's supposed to be. That I need to put out for anybody listening, that there is nothing we are doing out there that has any bearing with the program of God.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Listen and listen very carefully as we are outside here hearing from us. There is nothing anyone doing outside in the name of God that has any bearing with the path that will bring humanity help that is coming from God. Because the help of God can only come from God. It cannot come from any man.
Yes.
But the thing is that when it has to do with the God, you cannot see God without seeing a man.
Yes.
That is when I say without seeing a man, without seeing somebody looking like you. But the question is, who is the person that you are seeing looking like you, but is God? That is what we need to know. So when we talk about liberty and freedom, you see, they also go together. Even in the program of God, when God comes to begin a work, you see that liberty see function with some person. People see function on that liberty. That is why I will put it this way, that liberty is the life of man. It's the way the Spirit program man. And that Spirit that program man is the Spirit of the Lord.
Yes.
He is the one that engineer everyone. He's the one that brought man into a system, which is the Spirit that lives in both the male and the female, which is everyone in the entire world today.
Yes.
So, the liberty is his way of doing things according to his nature. And we put it like this: liberty is a life without control.
Yes.
It's a living without control, not a life. It's a living without control.
It's quite simple.
It's a living that everyone have the right to live the way he wants.
Yes.
And the only person that have that capacity to live the way he wants is God.
Yes.
Is God.
Yeah, she mentioned that.
That is why
Quite,
in that liberty where we exercise in our world,
yeah.
with that limitation of that spirit of man, we are not the one that's supposed to do whatever thing we want to do, because we don't have the capacity to be able to secure the outcome of the danger that will come.
Yes.
But for God, there's no danger that will come to God.
Yeah.
So that is why he's the only one that have the capacity to live the way he wants and guide the people not to live the way they want, because the security is with him. He's not with us. So when we talk about liberty, you see that in our world today, you just see that everybody, we call it do as you like, as we just mentioned here. Do as you like. But we've said before that when you do as you like, you go see also as you know like.
Yes.
Because what you see is not what you like.
Yes.
When you do what you like, the outcome of it will not be what you like.
Yes.
Most of the time.
If you watch the world the way we live, there are some certain times that you are doing something, and even when somebody is supposed to be the one to guide you and tell you, don't do like this, it will harm you. You say, I am free to do whatever I like. That time you will never hear, I am liberty to do what I like. You hear, I am free to do what I like. Don't you know I am in liberty? I am in my own liberty. I have my liberty to operate the way I want. So first is freedom. We use the way we do things to be. I am free to do what I like. But we have said that it is under liberty.
Yes.
It is not under freedom, because freedom will come as a result of what the liberty have caused for you.
Yes.
For a clear, let me put this illustration as a clear for what you just said now concerning this, our mix-up of freedom and liberty. For instance, now in the world, with the way the world has evolved, right now, most of the countries you go to, you will see there's freedom of press. You are free to say what you want. You are free to say what you like. But to see the, like I said when I started, say the bad side of the liberty that we call freedom is that when we go about thinking we can say what we like, we don't think. We don't consider what we say can introduce for us.
Yes.
Because you can say, I am free to say what I like. Freedom of speech. That's how we put it. Freedom of speech.
Yes.
But when you now go ahead to exercise that your freedom of speech and say what you are not supposed to say about somebody, and that person comes after you and your whole family, what do you now say? Will you tell the person, sorry, it was freedom of speech? Would that stop the person from killing you? Based on the way we live in the world right now.
And we are beginning to notice that. That's why we say freedom of speech day, but freedom after speech, I can't guarantee you.
That is because that is not freedom.
Yes.
Because that is not what
if you call it
freedom is.
freedom, that whatever thing you are saying in that moment will not bring any problem.
Exactly.
But you see, when it has to do with what we are here to let our world know, it's not about what we say. Anybody is free to say whatever thing he like. It is what we do.
That counts.
Because the liberty that we have to say whatever thing we say, where the Spirit counted from is what we do. Yes. Because we use that liberty of saying what we think we have the right to say, to do. It's not even what we say. I'm not even talking of what we say, because right now the Spirit is not holding us from what we say. He's holding us from what we do.
Yeah.
In the liberty we think we have, you can see today in the world, Like my immediate brother once told me that they don't arrest native doctor. As long as what he's preaching is in line with what they call God, his belief. His belief. So he's in liberty to operate the way he wants. It is only in a time when they now said he has caused so harm to so person.
Yes.
Then a report is now given to them that will now go to that person to arrest the person. Not just arrest the person to come and detain, as long as they have not witnessed that thing, but to come and prosecute the person and find out, investigate to carry out. Why am I saying this? Because the person is at liberty to worship the God that he knows. If that one that we call the native doctor, so it's a God that is worshiping.
Yes.
So in the law, you can't just arrest him because you don't know what he's doing. Forget about the thing that he tie. What he believes is that he's God.
Yes.
So in today's world now, you can see what we call religion. In the religion, which is supposed to be the way of the God that as we claim. That's why we have said here that religion is not the way of God.
Yes.
But if you want to go into what is religious, supposed to be a part of God. The word religious supposed to be a part of God. But because what the religion has caused today, it doesn't have any bearing with the character that has to do with God. Because you cannot have a character of God when God is not there to make you. It is until you are made that before you can now have that character of God. So you see that liberty now in the world make everybody to do whatever thing he knows he wants to do. Not just he has to do, because what you has to do is what you are given to do by approval.
Yes.
But this one is what you want to do. You know that you are entitled to do whatever thing you want. You can get up, go to Bible school, now start to read the Bible. Even if you don't go to Bible school, you start to read the Bible, you build your own church, and you have branches. You started, gathering people,
Yes.
and call it the work of God.
Yes.
And millions of people will follow you. You see, that is what liberty does. And this one, people following you, they don't know that you are not in the path of God. And when you now that see the light, and I'm talking to people, no, this thing that we are doing, is not right. You hear somebody tell you they are in liberty to do whatever thing they like. That is why you see at liberty to do whatever thing they like. That is why you see that liberty cannot help us.
Yes.
So I'm saying, even with that way that we are living in the world, with that liberty, incurring the problem that we incur for ourselves, because that thing that you are doing now, the Lord is marking for you as a wrong thing you are doing. Because one, you don't wait for him to come and show you what you're supposed to do, which is what the Bible have shown, that we are supposed to wait until that comforter, which is the one with the spirit of the truth, or the Holy Ghost, comes and now guide us in the things we are supposed to do. But we don't have that. That is why today I want to say that every man in the face of the earth are living under the liberty of that spirit. And the spirit does not approve the life of that liberty. So nobody should live out there and say, what I'm doing, no matter how fantastic they are, is not approved by God. So I will say, there is nobody that what is doing can avail he or her eternal life. They can't.
That's why it says that we are subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who made it so. Because that is what we have been saying since the beginning of this day. That even though as liberty is do as you like, and that is a bondage living, just as we have tried to illustrate. But we should not forget the fact that we were put in that, we did not bring ourselves into that position. We were put in that position, but for a reason. You understand? Because even as we are subjected to this liberty living, there is a point in time when that spirit that subjected us to this living has appointed to remove us from this living, which is where freedom comes in with God. So the thing is, the bad part of it is that right now, the way the world is moving, we have come to embrace liberty. That we don't even want to do away with it. We don't know that it is something that needs to be done away with, which is why we are bringing this up now. To enlighten our world to know that this is a living standard that we need to prepare to drop if we are to have any headway. Because when it comes to the liberty, we have seen that the liberty to do as we like does not do us any good.
Yes.
So it is high time we prepare to drop that standard once that standard of freedom is established, to drop it and follow that of freedom. But the bone of contention here is whether man, because right now, even as liberty was imposed on us mandatory, to live it is by choice. Yes. If you get what I mean.
The liberty that we are dwelling in, or we are dwelling with, let me use that word with,
Yes.
in the world. It's not that what we are doing look like they are bad, but they are wrong.
Yes.
Because no matter how fantastic, which I said before, the things we are doing look like, but as long as it's under liberty, that is not coming from the voice of that guide, that choosing one that's supposed to show us what to do. Because it is when the voice is now directing us on what to do that we can now have what we call freedom.
Yes.
But under the liberty is what everybody is operating with right now.
Yes.
And it's not approved. That is why in Acts of Apostles, when he talks about the choosing one, the prophet that the Lord, our God, will raise from among us.
Yes.
That's why I explained the word the Lord before.
Yes.
To mean, from what we have been talking about in this, to mean the spirit of overall, the spirit that generated humanity,
Yes.
the spirit that generated everything. And that spirit is not God.
Yes.
It's not God. So under the foundation of that spirit, he has a plan on how he's coming to redeem humanity. And there's nobody that should assume that the humanity has already been redeemed. No, there's nothing like that.
Because we can read the Bible.
That is why we keep saying in this program, when we talked about the cross,
Yes.
we talked about how do you preach to a people that there is somebody that has come and pay the debt of death for every man, and even carry cross for everyone, and ask everybody to carry cross and follow him.
And it's nowhere to be found.
And it's nowhere to be found. Even if it's where to be found, you found the person and the person tell you, carry your cross and follow me. It means he has not carried cross for you.
Yes.
So let us not use the word nowhere to be found as if he has carried the cross. Because even if we go and meet him,
He would still tell you the same.
and he tell you, carry cross and follow me, that will show you automatically that he did not carry cross for you.
Yes.
But this one, you can't even see the person. But because these things are spiritual things, so the spirit is showing us that the only way you can have a fulfillment of this thing, which is what surrounds all our discussion, is that a body must be provided for the spirit that put this thing in the writing, which is the spirit of the Lord, to dwell in and now show humanity what the plan was and how to carry that plan out in our lives today. Which is why we are here, letting our world to understand that there is where that spirit has chosen to birth himself, to born into. Somebody asked me, why do you keep using the word God born into this world? There's nothing like that. He said God is overall. God cannot, I said, God is overall. Is it the way you know God to be or the way God is? Because when you say I can't say God born into this world. Is God a man? I said, you believe in Jesus? He said, yes. And you believe that Jesus was a man that born, according to your story, that was born into the face of the earth? He said, yes. And I said, and that your belief, you also believe that the Jesus is God? He said, no, Jesus is the Son of God. I said, the Son of God, is it God himself? He said, yes. I said, don't mix it up. If you believe that Jesus born in the midst of a people, you also need to know that the spirit is talking about or is born with is the spirit that also brings the person I'm talking to you about.
Exactly.
Because the one you see as a story, you don't even have a proof. But the one I'm telling you now is something you can prove.
Practical.
Because that is the only way we can have the help we are looking for. So, the Lord being that spirit, there is something he put there to let us know that the only way I can help these people is when I bring out somebody that I have approved that is going to guide them, which I want us to read before we go back to summarize the issue of that liberty. Because there's something that I want to point here. Acts chapter 3.
For Moses truly said unto the fathers, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people.
Do you read that? Do you see what the writing put?
Yes.
Why I'm bringing this is to put this thing out to the world. That nobody should assume anything that has to do with God. Because the only personality that the world is waiting for, the only personality that is going to help us in this world and put a control of a life that we need to live, that will not have any casualty, is when it's coming from the voice of the Lord by whom he chooses to help humanity with. That's the only way we can have help. And you cannot assume that there was one Jesus that has come and died and gone. And this thing that he's talking about has not been fulfilled in that very Jesus that we think has come and died and gone. He said, a prophet with the Lord your God. The Lord your God. Because the Lord whom ye call God, that spirit that we take as God, he said a prophet with that spirit rests unto us. And he went on to say that it will come a time, which is when the prophet has been made among us, that any soul that will not hear from that prophet shall be cut out or cut off upon the earth.
Among the people.
Among the people. The question I ask is that this show you that it's one person.
Yes.
Cannot be two. That spirit of the Lord will rest unto us. And all of us, we have a duty to hear from that person before we can know what to do, or before what we are doing can be approved or have a seal of approval by God.
Yes.
But the question now is, how can you have this thing fulfilled in a world without a person? If you don't believe that God as a spirit need to be available in the midst of a people, in somebody. But we can assume that God is in us, even when he's not there.
Yeah.
Because we show you that whosoever that spirit will dwell in will have a capacity that will put everything that humanity has been suffering for together or in order.
Yeah.
From this very scripture, you can see that.
Yes.
And this you cannot say is one Jesus that has come and died. What he's talking here. Even though that very Bible portion is talking about that same personality of Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ is not one man somewhere.
Yes.
It's a spirit that shows you that until he dwells in a body of a person, things cannot work. And he will need to dwell in a body of a person to be able to serve humanity a purpose of eternal life.
Yes.
So you see that in this person is where control will come. But in the world, what we do is that everybody has his own. Everybody has his own or our own prophet. Which is why I'm bringing this. Every one of us has his own prophet. And in the prophet that we have, see boils down to that liberty that we have. So we think that we are entitled to choose
From.
not even from the people, choose ourselves as the one that the Lord have sent. Because that is what it is when you say that the word of opinion poll, when everybody is entitled to his opinion.
Yeah.
It's not that you just have what to say as your own opinion.
It's what to do.
It's what to do.
Yes.
Because for you to wake up to say, this is what I'm doing, it means as long as nobody has the right to stop you, you are living under liberty.
Yes.
You see? Because you don't have control to somebody to show you that what you are doing is wrong. Though that is what liberty does. You see, from one of the moments that we had, we talked about in the life of liberty, which is the life that we dwell, you see the problem we have. Like when you say, if you do anyhow, you see anyhow. Yeah?
Yes.
If you do what you like, you will see what you will not like. So you see now, the outcome of that, your liberty, what you like, will now put you into a casualty that will bring a way of freeing you, that will need a way of freeing you. Yeah. And that way of freeing you is only God that can free you. So based on the cry that we cry today, you see that we need help. And that help that we need is someone that can free us from that life of bondage. I'm saying, when we live the life of liberty in the world, you see, for example, now, a young man now who like to do what he likes or who love to do what he likes, even when he's going out with a female, not just one female, but he like to follow females around, and like to sleep around. Before you know, you will contact one of the diseases.
STDs.
And once you contact that disease, you see, the remedy of that disease will be very hard. He has put you into a kind of
Situation.
that needs help.
Yes.
At that moment, you see, it is that thing that you like,
Has cost you
that your liberty, you think that nobody's supposed to caution you. That has caused you that problem. That time now you need freedom. But the thing is that because nobody also have a capacity to correct another person or to stop another person, that is why what we do, no matter how somebody talk, you can't stop it.
Yes.
I can just simply mash all you have said into a very brief statement. And it goes like this. The liberty that we as men exhibit puts us in a situation that requires freedom.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
Yes.
I can mash all you have said, all the passages is into that simple statement and say that the state of liberty in which we as men are functioning under puts us in a position where freedom is what is required to bring us out of.
Yes.
And we try to point out the issue of the popular saying we have as everyone is entitled to his own opinion. That is just a very basic and secondary issue. Let's look at a very critical issue of how men have applied their liberty. Like, for instance, there is this issue of having to go to mass. Okay. Though it hasn't been as hot as it was a couple of years ago, but it's still in the workings, it's still in the burners. But you ask yourself, how come and how can it be that men who didn't bring themselves into this planet that we have called Earth,
Yes.
what makes us think we can move ourselves from this planet to another? When the person whom we have said to be God, who created and made the whole universe,
Yes.
chose of all the planets
Yes.
in that universe
To
to
put
put
us,
you
yes.
and us
Yeah.
in this particular one he has labeled as Earth. Isn't that the liberty of man? Because he has now gotten to explore, not because he knew those planets were there. That's where you even see the hand of that Lord who brought man into play.
Yes.
Because he didn't know those planets were there.
It was shown.
All of a sudden, he was just shown that, hey, bro,
There's
something up there.
Yes.
And he's like, I can't see anything. I just see twinkling lights and all that. He said, okay, that's not an issue. I'm going to show you
How to make a microscope.
How to make, is it a microscope or a telescope? I'm going to show you how to make a telescope. He's like, yo, what's the telescope? He said, don't worry, do like this, do like that, and look into it and you'll see what I'm telling you about. And he makes the microscope, he looks into it, and he now sees wonders. He's wonders because he never knew those things existed.
Yes.
He's like, whoa,
He's amazed.
this
I need
crazy.
to explore more.
It's crazy. So the Lord has introduced that. So he gives him a nudge. He said, okay, explore it. And he's like, how do I explore this? And this might look like the Lord is talking to the man. No, it's in his head.
That is what I wanted to say. I wanted to say, this is your demonstration. Let it not be as if the Lord is somewhere. The man is in the dream. Hearing this
It's
thing.
in his head.
Because that brain that is in your head was created by that spirit.
It's in his
Because
head.
it's the spirit, it's the man, it's inside of the body.
It's inside of us. So it's
already programmed it.
it's just there. So that's why we as men, we feel like we are the ones who come up with those things, because we think that they originated from the brain. Unfortunately, we don't know that brain, we didn't make it. So the person who made that brain has his own way of giving us or putting information
He's right
into
there.
that brain. He's not even putting, he's right there.
So
He said
right
a
there.
man's way is not of himself.
Yes. He's right there, because when you look at it this way, we talk about people being inspired.
Yes.
Inspired by what? Because when you say when you say that I was inspired, it means there was there was a external influence.
Yes.
When you say I was inspired,
Yes.
there was an external influence. But what we don't understand, or what we don't know, not even understand, is that inspiration that we are talking about, even when it's coming from an external source,
Yes.
it was still from that spirit.
Yes.
Because he was in a person who you feel you are inspired by.
Yes.
So he drove that person
Your way.
through his own inspiration,
Yes.
for you to derive your own inspiration
From that
without
person.
knowing that it's still that same source, which is the Lord, that drives all that roller coaster kind of movement. So he now nudges the man and he says, do like this, do like this, do like that. And he's like, okay, I'm going to try this thing that has come to my thought. And he puts one or two things together. He cannot make a telescope. He doesn't know about the centrifugal force, though that's what they're not teaching us now. The amount of energy, or the amount of speed required to break through the atmosphere, all that.
Yes.
How did he know about all those things?
Yes.
You see, so all those things were stuff that spirit of the Lord, who is right inside of the man, engineered.
So we are operating under
So
a classic force.
yeah, exactly. It's as simple as that.
That is why, from what we keep bringing in this program, is that the first phase of the Lord is man.
Yes.
How did he put it? He said, the glory of the latter house shall be greater than the former.
Yes.
And we have said that the former is man.
Yes.
But in the man is everyone in the world.
Yes.
Now, when the latter is coming, he come with the God, which is the body of the one that they call the Holy Ghost. Because right now it's coming to perfect
Man.
the man.
Yes.
But that is why he said the glory of the latter house shall be greater than the former. So the former being the man and the latter being the God, who now come to bring a cleanliness
Yes.
into the man, which is the former house, to now have this glory, which is the original glory that the Spirit planned from the beginning. That is why, from what Adugo said before, she talks about Romans 8:20, that talks about the creature was made subject to vanity,
Yes.
not willingly, but by the reason of him who have subjected him
To such.
to such, because he has a hope that the creature
Yes.
will be delivered.
Yes.
I'm only trying to phrase it, but that is what he put there, to show that what we are going through, and no matter what we acquire in the world, under that
bondage.
liberty,
It's bondage.
will all boil down to vanity. Because there are a waiting program. You know, we even sing for song when we say how do we put it? We are this, it's something that we say we are in this world.
Sojourners or something.
In this world, we are caretakers in this world. So we are like the world that we are not permanent.
Yes.
But when we put those things that we are not permanent, we think like the permanent that we are not is that one day we vanish,
Die of, yeah.
which is wrong.
Yeah.
But the thing is that as long as we are still dwelling with that state of man, which is the earthly state,
Yes.
we can't be permanent.
Yeah.
That is why I said the glory now become the one when the God now comes in, or when the Lord now comes in with the second phase of the work to perfect man by God. That is where we can now stay. So all this trouble, let me not call it trouble, all this process show from what you are saying that freedom is freedom from something.
Yes.
So it means if we were in the life of bondage, the freedom now is the one now who now comes to remove us from the life of bondage
Yes.
to the life of perfection.
Yes.
That is what it is. But Nobody should assume right now, because of whatever thing, whether he lives a life, what he call a life, or he's a preacher that has branches everywhere. Nobody should celebrate that he is already free, because no man is free.
Yes.
To show you that we are not free is the reason why you see us as this small casualty. There is no man on the face of the earth today that doesn't have limitation. And that limitation shows that we are not free yet.
But if
There's
you
something I want us to say in Deuteronomy 18.
Yeah, speak up to the mic.
18:18.
Yes.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18.
Okay.
I think I should even round up my little story I was telling, or my little illustration before we read that. No, I was trying to point out how we as men are operating under a classic force, but we feel like we are the ones in charge. I drew an illustration with how man was planning on moving to Mars. So we said that, or I got to the point where the man, which is the human now involved, is being nudged by that spirit of the Lord who resides in him as man, to invent certain things, to enable him explore what he has already showed him. So now spaceships are made, rockets are made, and we as men, we find ourselves leaving this planet to other planets, to outer space, exploring things which we never knew existed.
Give ourselves names,
Award.
We call ourselves astronauts, call ourselves all sorts of names, give ourselves awards, but we never knew those things existed, which is where my point is. We never knew those things existed. And when we now get to know about the existence of those things, we now feel like we were the ones who came up with the ability to figure it out.
Yes, sir.
We now think that we are the ones who have the power to understand how the things which we didn't bring function.
Yes.
And we try to do all we do to sustain ourselves and still show off our knowledge as the ones in control. Like, for instance, you talked about the evolution of man. At some point, men were walking all over the world to get to various places. Then there were animals, there were cats that were now introduced, that the horses have to drag around. Then all of a sudden there were steam engines, there were
Bicycles.
mechanical engine, bicycles, and all sorts of stuff. All those things were introduced.
Yes.
And the Spirit of the Lord, who still resides in the man, lets him feel like all he's doing is innovation. It's improving the living standard of man. But if you look through it, you now see that everything man has done in the name of
Invention.
bettering his life,
Yes.
invention, renovation, evolution, you check to see that it has created more problem, more harms than the intended solution that the thing was supposedly meant
To achieve.
to achieve or to serve.
Yes.
Now we are talking about global warming. We are talking about air pollution. We are talking about this. We are talking about, and all that
Is
are
very-
issues
Yes.
that men generated
Yes.
from what they have called innovations, because they were at liberty to do as they like. And you now see that all those things we now call man-made problems aren't problems men can fix.
Yes.
So you ask yourself, what went wrong there? And what went wrong there was simple, that we are operating under the foundation of liberty, and being so, we are bound to get to the point where we are bondage, where we are shackled,
Yes.
in order for freedom to step in and show us what a right foundation looks like. And just as you said, will man agree? Man won't agree unless he's driven to the point where he is in bondage. So when freedom comes in to redeem him from that bondage, he sees the difference. So it's from the difference he sees that makes him understand and accept that the foundation in which he's operating under is wrong. And he definitely needs
Help.
help.
So,
And that
so
change.
that is to say, whether we like it or not, we must agree.
We must.
It's a must.
Because, for instance, no matter how much we cry about, let's say, for instance, car accidents, no matter how much we lament about how much accidents are happening around in the world,
People won't stop
we cannot
driving.
stop buying cars. We cannot stop driving cars. But if it's that cars were never introduced, we will not be facing this problem of car accidents.
But at the same time, the spirit too allowed for those cars to be produced or will I say introduced. Had his reason for introducing it, because man would have stayed, because just as we have described, man doesn't have the capacity to
Generate things by
generate thoughts
himself.
for himself. So the thoughts of the car that was introduced wasn't introduced by the man, though the man feels he was the one who introduced that thought. It was introduced by the Lord for him to achieve something, to drive man on. Just as we have said before, that if you want someone to feel the pain or the effect of a fall, you take him as high as possible. So when he falls, he crashes to the ground and feels the pain of it.
At this moment, we'll call it men, because the man is the one that is already at work. You understand? Men are the people operating under the foundation of the man. So we men are operating under the foundation of the man. And the man, like I said, is the spirit that the Lord engineered first.
Yes.
So it's his program. That is why we keep saying that we are not here to condemn anybody, but we are here to show from what the God has come to show, that every of the foundation that was planned from the beginning is just to keep us within that circle. That no matter what we are doing, we are still waiting for the one that will come and perfect all of us. Because from what you are saying, you see that everything we engineer, it doesn't have a perfect solution.
Yeah.
It doesn't have. So because it doesn't have, that is because that is how the Spirit programmed it. So that whatever thing we do cannot avail us that solution until the one that will come and remove us from that crisis, that bondage life comes. That is what it is.
So,
Okay,
Brother
that's-
Chigoze, you are saying we should read from Deuteronomy.
This thing that we talked about before.
This block of lesson. Let's just say Ecclesiastes chapter 2 verse 18. Before I can read that. Ecclesiastes. And where are you? Chapter 2 verse 18.
Yea, I hated all my labor which I had taken under the sun, because I should leave it unto the man that shall be after me.
Okay, hold on there. That Deuteronomy 18:18. Before I say what I want to say.
Okay?
Deuteronomy 18:18.
Yes.
I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him.
Okay, it's okay. You see, when we say
Come
God,
closer to the mic.
when we talk about God, is a man. You see, we use the word the Spirit of the Lord. We talk about the Spirit of the God. It's the Spirit of the Lord that made everything. That made everything we are using today. The things we see to use, to do the things we do, to invent the things we invent. He said he hated everything he has meant under this sun, under this world. Now it's going to bring God. It's going to bring God, a man who will be after him. There's nobody in this world who can be if not God. It's only God we need. It's only God who can be in this our world, who can be able to give us the help we need. We cry for God daily, every day, all of us. See the world we are living. There's nobody who can help us. When we say God is a man, say, how can God be a man? How can you say God is a man? How can God look like us? I was talking to one of my friend. He said, I can't tell him God is a man. And everything that we're using in the world today is not God that made it. I said, no, it's not God that made it. If God have made this world, me and you, and put us in this world, and that God say, whatever I do it shall be forever. And me and you, we are not forever. Are you sure it's God? He said, no. I said, nah, why are we not forever? He said again, okay, that's the reason why he sent Jesus. I said, to do what? He said to die for us. And what not to happen again? He said for us not to die again. I said, he just called me today. Say he just buried their mom. He said, then how does that connect? If Jesus came to die for me and you, as we will say, nobody came to die for us into this world. And he just told me that he came to die for us. And he just told me he just buried their mom. How does that connect? That means something is wrong. If that thing ever happened, I called him and said, boy, why are we still dying?
That is what we are. That's what we have been trying to always point out, that these things are going on because of our lack of understanding, our lack of knowledge. Not me not say understanding, because understanding comes in with knowledge.
Yes.
So our lack of knowledge, and it's that lack of knowledge that we have, or that lack of knowledge that's allowed, or rather that inspired some of the writings for us to see by that spirit that the people, which is us, perish or are destroyed for that lack of knowledge. Because we keep on driving in a lack of knowledge which we think is knowledge.
Yes.
So because of our drive in a lack of knowledge, we do things and we think that we do it in knowledge, and the outcome of those things we do, which we think is in knowledge, shows, or in turn shows, that what we have done is in a lack of knowledge. And that lack of knowledge is not because men don't know things, which is all we have pointed out now. Men know things, but those things we are given to them by that same Spirit of the Lord. But the things which they know, which was given to them by the Spirit of the Lord, are not the things of God, are not the knowledge of God. That's why I said that they have the zeal, but not according to knowledge of God.
Yes.
That is the backbone of everything. All a man needs to have, be it knowledge, be it anything, it has to be according to God.
Yes.
And anything outside of that, it's water under the bridge, is dung. It doesn't count for anything. So all you're still saying is what we have been talking about, even if it's not on this episode of Liberty and Freedom. We have pointed it out in Man and Woman, in Cross, in all we have talked about, is that all these things never happened. They are significant. They are significant. They are prophetic. They are not stories. And when they will take place, it won't still take place how we understand, how we know it to be.
Yes.
How we feel it should
How
be.
we feel it should be. It will still take place how the same Spirit who put it, or who inspired the writings, intended it to go.
Yes.
When we read that Christ came and carried cross and all that, and we have discredited that not to be a historic event, when that will take place, just as you mentioned when we talked about the cross, it doesn't mean that somebody will carry
A wooden stick.
a wooden stick on his back. It has its own process. It has its own significance. There is what it's meant to achieve. Even certain things that are written in the book, just as we are talking about significance and significance, they have their spiritual significance. There are those that are spiritual principles, that certain things need to work a certain way for it to yield the intended purpose of the Spirit who engineered it.
You just talk about a wooden cross. That when we are talking about cross now, it's not somebody that will carry a wooden stick at his back. I want to say this so that anybody that want to understand where that one comes from should also go into our platform and the page and watch
The video of
cross.
the cross, yeah.
We did a video on the cross,
Yes.
which we explain what the cross is, how we can also be free from the load of the cross. And today we are talking about liberty and freedom. It shows you that all these things that we are talking about goes round. There's almost the same thing.
They are knitted.
Because we have said that all the program of I know this, I don't know this with God, I know this, God is this, then we don't need to explain them much. All we just need is the life of man with God. Meaning how we can have the Spirit of God to return back the glory, the lost glory, as we keep calling it.
Yeah.
That is all what this work is all about. But we cannot have that achieved without the choosing one, which is like what Brother Chigo is trying to say now. You can see how we labor, how we suffer in this world. And the suffering, we see cry for God to come and help us. Now I keep asking, how do you expect God to come and help you if God cannot be somebody in your midst? You know, we always say that God will choose somebody. God will choose somebody. Yes. Let's agree that God will choose somebody. But the choosing of God as somebody is that the person you see that you think God is the one that chooses that person, that is the God.
Not be man of God.
Not be man of God. Because God doesn't choose a man to go and do work for him. God is a spirit, as we always know.
Yes.
But when it comes to the practical side, the fulfillment side, God, the spirit become a person. He make, that is, how did he put it? He was make flesh and dwell among men.
Say the word was made flesh and dwelt.
So if God, as the word, being a spirit, need to reach humanity and serve humanity that purpose of life eternal, he must be made flesh and dwell among. So the Lord that we keep saying here, seek ye the Lord while he may be found. It means there is no how you can have the Lord, because everything here we have shown that the Lord, from what has been shown to us, is that spirit. And until that spirit provide a body, a vessel, that is worthy for him to dwell in, because of the sin nature in us, he cannot be with us. He can't be found. Yeah. So it is after he has chosen that person and finished working that person to station it, store himself in, then he goes to work from that person in order to prepare humanity.
And that's where freedom comes in. So let's wrap up this sitting with freedom.
Yes.
Which is quite brief, because when you understand the foundation of liberty,
Yes.
it's like intriguing to know what freedom does when it comes in.
Yes.
But then again, when freedom comes in, it's so simple and so ordinary that it makes you wonder what happened.
This is what is supposed to help me.
So we have just described
simple but not simple.
we have just described God now to be the one who introduces freedom.
Yes.
Because freedom entails control.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. Freedom entails control.
But how?
Sure.
You see? So how now becomes the question.
Where we need to talk about.
Yes, because we have now tried to talk about how God is first and foremostly introduced to the people.
Yes.
That it must be somebody.
Yes.
It must be somebody.
Yes.
So that person now, having been introduced to the people, is coming with a foundation, his own foundation. That Christ's life, that's what he's coming with. So he's coming to establish that his foundation, not to live under the foundation of man.
That will remove us, which by his work will now remove us from the foundation of man to his own foundation.
It's like a handover. So he now comes in to establish his own foundation. And for us to be a part of that, his foundation, we need to be freed from that state of bondage.
Yes.
So now, it's a process.
Yes.
He doesn't just come and snap his finger and everything moves. That's how we take God to be, our own God. The magician. You know, he just come and abracadabra, everything changes.
Fake.
No, it's fake. When the person of God is introduced, men who have lived all their existence in the wrong foundation can't just have it good by a snap of a finger. No, they need to undergo a process.
We need to.
We need to undergo a process because we ourselves are involved.
Yes.
And we are talking about what we are talking about now because we have found ourselves, most of us didn't even know what was going on. We just found ourselves in that process of the purging, just as Malachi 3, chapter 3, verses 1 was talking about how that messenger would come to purify us, to purge us like silver and gold. That process of purging, that is the process of refinement. That's what removes us, cleanses us from that rubbish foundation that we have been established on, which is that foundation of liberty, that foundation of sin, that foundation of man. You can describe it even as the Antichrist foundation. It's all that foundation of the cross, that load that we are carrying is all that. We can describe that our foundation as
That
a
foundation
lot
that
of
bring the
things.
cross to every man.
Yes, we can describe that foundation as a lot of things. So we undergo a process. It's not a snap of a finger. So we undergo a process. So it's the process that we are put through by that person of God. Yeah. That is what qualifies us to get that freedom which he comes from. Which is why he says, "Ye are clean from the words I speak to you." So it shows you that somebody needs to be there to speak a word to you. And those words aren't just maybe calling your title Ada or Chigo. No, it's by giving you instructions, showing you the way. He shows you the way first and foremostly by the way he lives before he even says anything to you. So that is his word. His word is that his spirit, which is that his lifestyle. So he's showing you this is how you should live. And living that way, which he comes to show us, is that process because it's not easy. So living that way, which he comes to show us, is what removes us from that state of independence, that state of man, and converts us or conforms us to that nature of the human that makes us submissive to that his nature of God.
I think we call it is easy but not cheap.
Yeah, that's what we say. So now we can in turn see that when that happens, we are no longer at liberty to do as we like. But at the same time, we are not caged.
Yes.
So you now see what freedom is. Freedom, in simple terms, is like a kind of prison.
Yes.
So that's why we say freedom has its own restraints.
Yes.
Meaning that when you have been removed from this foundation of man and liberty and independence into the foundation of God, your freedom is within a confine.
Yes.
Meaning all you have to do or all you will find yourself able to do must be within this foundation of the Spirit of God, the person of God. All your activities needs to be under his foundation. That is freedom. But it's like it's at the same time it's a prison in the sense that you cannot go back to live this other way you are living before.
Ada said something. There's something Ada said. She talked about liberty when we are living under liberty.
Yes.
Because of in the world, you see that the under liberty that we live, a lot of things happen. Anybody can do anything he likes.
Yes.
But because we know humanly that the things that everybody like to do, they are not normal.
Yeah,
it's not everything that we do.
Sometimes it can be
even
to
though
the detriment
nothing
of
is
another
normal.
person.
Even though nothing is normal.
Yes.
Nothing is normal in the things we do.
Yes.
But some of them look like they are abnormal. They are abnormal people. So that makes we now in the world to generate what we call laws.
Yes.
Just before you go on, you talked about normal and abnormal. I just remembered something. And we talked about how the problem of man, which is our problem, is not because we are sinners, but our refusal to live
Yes.
As one.
as sinners. So, when you talk about normal and abnormal, the Spirit sees us as sinners. So, when he sees us trying to exhibit a kind of
Normal.
activity or a kind of way that wants to, show like we are not sinners, that's what he sees as abnormal. He's like, yo, what's wrong with these people? You are sinners, man. You can't live any other way. So when he sees us trying to exhibit a living or a standard that is not to us,
away from
that is our way of how he made us is abnormal. So for him, the way man is normal. The killings is normal. The misbehaviors are normal. The chaos are normal. So when he sees it, he says, it's normal as long as it's man.
Yes.
You see, that's what makes it normal. When you are operating under the foundation of man, all you do is normal, which is why we say that the Spirit of God or the person of God is not coming to condemn us, but to judge us. And the judgment is to pass and show us a corrective measure.
Yes.
So he's seen all we are doing, and it's normal. He said, yeah, that's how I made you, and I know that because of this nature I made you in, that is how you are supposed to behave. Yes. So when you go about trying to behave in another way, fashion it in another way, he now sees that as being abnormal. You can classify that as the liar and the hypocrite. He knows, just as he said that you all are like your father the devil, the liar. So he knows that when he has made us like that, that's how we should operate. He made you like that. So when you want to fashion out a way that is outside the way he has made you, you will now become a hypocrite because you're a sinner refusing to live like one.
That is the side that he himself is seeing.
Yes.
I'm now talking about the side we humans are seeing.
Yes.
That is why I want to use that side to bring to light what we are talking about now when we are talking about freedom. I said, from what Ada said, based on the way we live, when we talk about liberty,
yes,
you see that the life of liberty shows that everyone is just free to do whatever thing he likes. And in the things that we do, the things I do may be generated one kind of feelings or hurting another person. And because the system of man, we understand that it's not always good to do something that will bring problem for another person too much. Because the things that you are enjoying is bringing problem for another person.
Yeah.
So that is what brings the law,
Yes.
the laws that we put in the system. So the laws were meant to control us from that life of liberty that everybody can just do the things they like. Because we are saying the things that we like to do. There are some people that do something that look like they are nice, they are good in the eyes of the people. Then there are another kind of people that do that, like they do evil. So in the evil way, from what we are seeing, we don't know that even the one doing nice is doing evil before God, which is the part you are driving with.
Yeah.
But in our eye, there are people that do things, we think that what they are doing is normal. Then there are some that what they are doing is not normal. So that is why we need to put a control. And our control is to put a law. And in that law, it says, make sure you don't do more than this. But you see, none of us, they obey the law, because the law is not something that somebody can sit down and monitor you, which is the forces that we put,
the agencies
we establish in the world to monitor the law. But in the God own, you see that nobody monitors you, which is why we have said that the law himself is God.
Yes.
The law is God. He is the only law that humanity has. But his law is not operating under the law of man.
Yes.
So when we are now doing the liberty and we put a law, the law will say, do, make sure you don't do like this. So I'm driving this to freedom. That in the freedom, because I remember something you said when we were talking one of the moments, you used you said, in the confines of your school where you used to be,
Yes.
when you make the illustration that there's a law that is put there. That law says, within the confines of this school, you are free to you are free to play around, do whatever thing you are doing around the compound. Make sure you don't go outside. Because you say that freedom is a kind of prison.
Yes.
So that somebody don't mix it up. Why is it a kind of prison? In the world of liberty, you are free to do whatever thing you like. Anyhow you want it. So there is no discipline, which is to say, liberty is a life of lack of discipline. Yes. Which is where we have problem. Because people talk about discipleship, that a disciple is not the one following the master.
Necessary.
But rather, it's not necessary. It's not the one following the master. If you want to describe a disciple, it's not because he's following the master, but rather the one doing according to how the master permits should be. which for the master, that is the one that is following him.
That's why I said not necessarily.
So now, from that illustration that you put within the confine of your school,
Yeah.
there is a law as man, because that law now is trying to control. In the school, they are trying to control the people.
Yes.
But in the part of God, you see that God doesn't need to come and establish what we call laws. We have said that God is not a God of the laws. And we ask, can one say God is not a God of the law? The answer is no. Which is why we are going to now differentiate between the way the laws of God works and the way the laws of men works. Because when you are now given this instruction, make sure you don't go out of this arena from your school.
Yes.
You see that they're placing securities men
To monitor.
to monitor you,
Yes.
so that you don't go out. But when it has to do with God, because he knows that the life, you yourself, you know that the life that you have been living in was a life of bondage.
Yes.
And now you don't need to dwell under bondage again. You need to dwell under freedom. And freedom is when the instruction is now put to you by the person of God on how you are ought to live life. Because that is the instruction that is put. Instruction means you have been shown a way that you need to live.
Yes.
So that you can be free from that danger, that life that brings danger to humanity.
Yes.
Because the life of liberty is a life of death, a life of casualty.
Yes.
And this life of freedom is no more a life of casualty. So what happens is that once he put you to a guide on how you need to live life, it is we now that will establish the laws to ourselves. To make sure, as long as the boys have said, you should not do this or you should not do that, you must do everything to caution yourself to make sure you don't do that, so that you don't fall victim from the glory that is ahead of you. You see?
Yes.
But I've said something before. When I said, even in the liberty, you still walk under where God has come to establish. Because the liberty is a life of man.
Yes.
And when you access God, it is now left for you to make sure the laws you give to yourself is making sure you don't walk under that same liberty.
To do as you like.
To do as you like. Because if you don't want to be in that prison, which is where the freedom is, because in the freedom, it shows you that if this thing now, you are free to do whatever thing you do here. But when you go out of this place that you say you are free, there's a danger that is ahead of you. Yes. That is why you are the one to caution yourself from there. Yes. Do you see it? Yes. You caution yourself. We caution ourselves because we know the danger. He doesn't need to follow us as monitor us. Yes. But the Spirit, because he always follows us. I've said something before. In the village, back in the village, where we used to have corn that they brought from farm, they would tie them 2 by 2 or 4. Sometimes they tie 3. And they hung them on top of what we construct up, where we do have our kitchen. Kitchen where we burn firewood under and burn fire, so the smoke will be easing up the corn to dry it up well, to preserve it. So what happens is that you just stay under there, you see rat run. You just be running, but you can see the rat all through the stomach, everywhere. You are seeing the rat. But many times the rat doesn't see you. That is how we are to the Spirit. So the Spirit sees everything we do.
This is another.
You understand me? That is how we are to the Spirit. Yes. So we do things that because nobody is monitoring us, so we are free. Which is from what the liberty does. Yes. But when you come to know who God is, you now know that you are not free. Because as long as you access that presence, the Spirit that is following you anywhere you go. That is where we used to say God is everywhere. God is everywhere does not mean that God as a person need to follow you everywhere you go. But because the Spirit that brought him is the same one that is following you as man. Do you get? Yes. It's the same Spirit, but different in capacity. That is the same Lord that put the Spirit that is following man. So there is nothing you can do, because it is that Spirit that of man that is manipulating everybody, but the word that come out from this person that the Spirit choose to say, go and give them control. Now, when you now obey that one, you see that it will tempt the spirit of man. He tempt it. He make it not to have more power over you, to tempt you.
Just to add something, it now makes you understand how God is all powerful, all knowing, and all sort and sort.
Yes.
Because from what you have described now, you just see that there's a spirit that is in charge of monitoring the men, not necessarily the person of God having to follow us around.
Yes.
So in that sense, you can say that what makes God all-knowing isn't because he knows what you ate today, or what you did inside your
Or what
closet,
you are going to eat as you are going.
or what you are going to eat tomorrow. No. But rather, what makes him all-knowing in the sense of how it's applied with him
Yes.
is that he knows that if you follow this road, this is what the outcome is.
Yes.
So that's how he sees the end from the beginning.
Yes.
Then, what makes him all-knowing as well is that, for instance, he doesn't need to follow you to know that you have done something outside of his principle or outside of his instruction.
Yes.
He just needs to see you after you have done that, or he just needs to see what you're facing, and he knows that this guy has gone out. This guy has gone out. Yeah, he has gone out of the instruction I gave him.
Yes.
So he knows the outcome of everything. He doesn't need to know exactly what you have done,
Yes.
but he knows the outcome. Meaning, when he sees the way a person is, he can categorically tell you that this is what you have done. Not in details, not necessarily, because he doesn't need that. He doesn't need to prove anything to you.
Yes.
He just needs to let you know that you have gone astray. That is why this has happened.
Yes.
That is why that has happened. That's how God is all-knowing and all-powerful and all that. So we shouldn't assume like he needs to know what we have seen a couple of those videos.
yes.
You know, like they say that, oh God, show yourself. And all of a sudden, let me say he appears, and you're like, how am I going to verify that you are God? And he's like, he whispered to him and like, should I tell you what you did in your cupboard so time? He said, oh no, you're God. Because that's what we need to confirm. But that's just imagination. That's our imagination. Yes. It doesn't count as anything. So, Brother Kufre, back to you. I hope you have not forgotten what you wanted to say.
No, I don't forget it. The thing is that where to summarize my point because of time,
Yeah.
there is no how we can be free in the life of liberty. There's no how we can be free in the life of liberty
From the life of liberty. Yes.
without the spirits that engineer us and put us there. Just as there is no how we man can be free from the life of sin without the one who engineer us into the life of sin coming to free us. And we have said the only way we can have freedom is when the person of God comes, because freedom brings the solution we are seeking for.
Exactly.
Freedom brings the peace that we desire for, which is what you said. Because if you are showing the arena, which is, let me not use the arena again, the life that you ought to live so that you don't have trouble anymore,
Yes.
and you refuse to live that life, it means trouble is automatically waiting for you in a greater part.
Yes.
Not even like the part that was before. Yes. Because out there, when we live a life of not knowing, you see that the consequences that follow it is because you did not know. So you'll be shown a way. But even though you did not know, you still suffer the consequences.
Yes.
But when you now come to where he has now come to reveal himself, he said, if I have not spoken unto you, that ye will hath no sin. That is to say, even when the sin is there, I am in capacity to change you and bring you that life. But when I come to speak to you and you refuse to accept that you have sin and work on them, then you die with it. And there are many in the world today who still claim that they know something, which in this program we keep telling everybody that there's no man that knows anything. And when we are saying no man knows anything, we are talking about where anything counts,
Which
is
in
with God. You can know whatever thing you know, but remember that no matter how learned a man is, he can never see how to read in the dark. The world is dark and need the presence of that light, which is the one with the Spirit of God. You know, that reminds me of the things we said in the word. He said, I am the light of the world. Because as long as you all are under sin, mean darkness dwell on you. Yeah. You are under darkness. Yes. So when he now says, ye are the light of the world, we claim that one now is us. We have forgotten that the one that says, I am the light of the world, is see the ye that he's talking to. Yes. So I need to put this out, because that's how we do. Ye are the light of the world. That one we claim it. But when you read it down, he said, but when the salt, ye are the salt of the earth. But when the salt has lost its savor, that one is our own. Yeah. That is our own.
So what use
we should not take the one that says, ye are the light. Ye are the light is that first person. But the salt that has lost its savor is we as man.
No wonder you talk say who no like better thing. That one would all rush, embrace her.
So how do you embrace something that you are not?
That's why it's a claim.
Yeah. And today in our world, we keep claim it. I prophesy, claim it.
Exactly.
So now, in every of these things that we have followed, the light, the living that we have followed that have caused problem to man, which is originally a plan of the Spirit, is the reason that he now comes and said, when I make you free, you will be free indeed. And the people started saying, we did free things, so. I think I would like us to read that in John 8.
We are never in bondage.
John 8.
Okay. That's from 35 downwards, right?
From 31.
31. Okay.
John 8. Wait.
Let's go. Are we there?
Go ahead.
Okay. Then said Jesus to those Jews which believed on him, if he continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed.
Do you hear that? Yeah. That shows you when we talk about freedom. And I said, even under the where freedom is functioning, there may be some that will still want to function under the liberty. Yeah. Because the freedom is a kind of liberty style. When you see it in the eye, it looks like the liberty. Mm-hmm. It looks like you are free to do whatever thing you like. But at that moment, you know you are not free to do what you like. You do according to what the voice said you should do. You see? So that's why we say, in the one that the voice said to you, it's like he put you in prison.
Because it's not what you like.
Because it's not what you like. But it's what will value life.
Because he's the one to free us. So he has a way that he wants to put us by to follow in order to stay free. So that's why it is when the Son make you free. So there is a making that we have to stay by in order to really get the freedom.
Okay, so verses 32. And he shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Yes. They answered him, we are Abraham's seed, and we are Abraham's seed. Which isn't that King James? Sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, they answered him, we are Abraham's seed.
Okay.
And we are never in bondage to any man.
Okay.
How sayest thou, he shall be made free? Yes. Jesus answered them, verily I say unto you. And that was because they were at liberty to do as they like. So they didn't understand the kind of bondage they were in.
Yes.
It is what is going on today. Everybody. Let us not use the where as if there's a past event. Look at what is going on today. Yeah. Everybody claims that they are righteous because they go to denomination. They are free to do whatever thing they like. They are not in bondage. You can even hear them. Jesus has come and died for us. He has freed us from their life. It is finished.
Like our friend said, why do you go to church? So that church is not a a clubhouse for saints,
Yes.
but a place for the sinners to come and find their redemption. So you're going to church is because you are sinful.
Yes.
So you are going to a place that should avail you that help.
Opportunity for change.
Yes. So that is what the church actually stands for. So you're going to church doesn't make you a saint. Rather, it just shows you, okay, he said it's a hospital for sinners. That's his words. Yes. So it just shows you that you are sick in sin. So you are going to a place that is supposed to heal you from that your sickness and give you life.
But why is it that when we reach there, we now
Act like
we now
saints.
claim that someone has come and died and take away our sin?
Okay, so let's go on 34. Jesus answered them, verily I say unto you, whosoever committed sin is the servant of sin.
Do you hear that?
Yeah. And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth ever. If the Son therefore shall make you free, he shall be free indeed. That's 36. Should I go on?
No, let's stop there because of time. But there's something you just said. He said, verily I said unto verily I said unto you, whosoever committed sin is the servant of sin. You know, we've said here that sin is not in the things we do.
Yes.
Because that is what has been shown to us.
Yes.
That it is who we are. Now, he said, whosoever committed sin is the servant of sin. So before you even do what you call sin,
You are already enslaved.
because you are already a sinner.
Yes.
And he put it like this, he said that a corrupt tree cannot bring out good fruit. And so is a good tree cannot bring out a corrupt fruit. And none is good except one.
Yes. Which is good.
So that is to say, as man, we are corrupt. So we do not expect to have any character that can turn us to eternal life.
Yes.
Not possible. It is until the tree that is good, which is God himself, come into our midst and bring out in us a fruit that can lead to eternal life. That's what it is.
Yes.
But this one now, it shows that many of us still claim that we are free. We are not in that bondage of sin. But the things we do, when you see somebody who say, we are men now, we are humans. So everybody, we are not perfect. It means we are under sin.
That's the bondage you are in. The bondage of being man that limits us. That's what we don't understand.
That is why he put it like that. So anybody that committed sin is the servant of sin. So you can claim that you are not in bondage.
Yes.
But that what's supposed to show you that you are in bondage is that limitation that you have. Finish.
Yes.
That limitation we have shows that we are in sin. Because today, the dominion, like Brother Savior said in one of, the dominion that we're supposed to have is no more there. No more there like we have before. It's not there.
It's not there.
He said
Can that show us that we are under sin?
he said we can never go and shake lion. I'm like, brother, what are you
Lion
looking
is
for?
even big.
What are you looking for a lion?
You know, they see for zoo where they keep the lion. They cage him in the way that they don't trust him. Make him no come out. But you see,
Even your dog said,
even the dog that you have, all these things shows that truly we need help.
Yes.
And there's no how we can get help without God being available in our midst to help us.
Yes.
What is wrong if you see someone looking like you with the capacity you don't have, and for just what is said to you and you do it, and it will change the situation that you ever cry for? What is wrong with that? But you see, when you meet the one that is of God, he will never tell you bring handkerchief, bring olive oil, bring coconut, bring money, bring this. It will never.
Yeah.
That is why me, when I met somebody and he talks to me and said, listen, you are looking for breakthrough. What if that is the stage the Spirit want to keep you so that when he come, he can help you? You think that when you make money, that is when you can now listen to him? Say no.
You won't break through.
Because that's what we desire in the world.
You can't break wall. You can't break wall. Platform no day you fall, break it.
When you don't know what is on the other side.
That is the word. I once tell somebody
We need help.
that when you are in this world and the things that the world is making fortune out of things, making what they call prosperity, and you do not make out anything out of it, you should be happy. He said, bros, how can you say that? I said, you should be very happy. Because you don't know the things of the world. He was offered to a man according to the scripture, and he rejected. So if that is all you achieve in the world, you should ask yourself, where are you going to? That is what it is. So freedom for me is a very simple thing for somebody to understand.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard to follow, in the sense that if you are living under the laws of your desire,
Yes.
you cannot achieve the purpose of freedom. But if you are living under that life that shows that we die daily, then you can achieve freedom. A life of freedom, that which is a life of God.
Yeah.
So that is the way I can put my own side of it.
I've started packing my books because I've just decided that when you finish what you are saying, we are going to draw the curtains on today's episode. But I'm going to end it by saying something out to our viewers that was said to me as well.
Okay.
Because when freedom comes in, we have from our explanations and our illustrations, you see that he's not letting us to do as we like.
Yes.
So I'll put it this way to those of us, or for those of you watching rather, that when the person of God is introduced in our midst, his presence with us is not to let us be, but to let, or rather to make us become. I'll say it again. The presence of the person of God in our midst is not to let us be, in the sense of continuing with our ways, but to make us become. Just as we have been led to believe from the scriptures that we can read that we are meant to be Christ, not be like Christ. We are meant to be Christ. So the presence of the person of God is to make us become that Christ. So in that sense, he can't let us be. Be in the sense that he can't let us continue in that our way that is not the way of Christ, but rather to make us become that Christ which we all have been crying for. So on that note, I will say we have come to the end of today's episode. But just as we always try to emphasize in the moment, is that whatever information we bring to you isn't something you can sit with wherever you are and try to implement it under a foundation that hasn't been established for you. This information we are bringing to you only works and can only help us when it is under the foundation that has been established by the person of God. So the question you should ask yourself before you think you can apply whatever thing you hear on this forum is, am I with that person of God? And I can as well tell you what your answer is. So, if you have been sincere enough to admit to yourself that you aren't with that person of God and you aren't that person of God, my advice would be to get up from your seat and make that search for the person who would establish the foundation for the things which we say on this forum to work for you. So for any further inquiries you may need, you can send us an email via the addresses on your screen, and we'll be sure to get back to you. And if you wish as well to join us live in our sessions, you can indicate that on your mail, and we'll establish a video link to have you join us via a video streaming platform, be it Zoom, Google Meet, or Skype. And this procedure doesn't require any monetary charge. All you need is your access to the internet, and you can get to be with us. So on that note, we'll say bye for now till we come your way next time.